baby. Welcome to Radio WCUC, Convenient Urgent Care, home of the smart pager. This is DJ What It Do. You know what time it is. It's the top of the hour, and the request lines are open. You know what you want to hear. I know what you want to hear. Operators are waiting.
I just got to hear, don't get the COVID.
Don't get the COVID, put your mask back on. The Delta COVID, more contagious than before. Don't get the COVID, go on and get the vaccine. You know that it can keep you safe, and your people living up in your space. Don't get the COVID, you need to wash your hands. The Delta COVID is more deadly than before. Don't get the COVID, go on and get your vaccine. You know that it can keep you from dying. Don't leave your family all alone and crying. Don't get the COVID.
We invite you to join our fight against COVID and against misinformation. It's time to listen to the doctors and trust the science.
When I think of people dying that don't have to die, it makes me sad. Now's the time to be sober. Together we can make this thing over. Let's fight the COVID.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody. I'm Preacher Moss, host of the S.O.S, the shout out show. We wanted to surprise everybody, give you a little reveal of the Convenient Urgent Care video, don't get the COVID. So we're going to play that at the end of the show, but we thought we'd surprise you guys. Hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful Thursday as we ease into the weekend. You know, today, brothers and sisters, it's a repeat day. Today is January 6th, exactly 1 year away from last year, January 6th, 2021, when we all witnessed on television what turned out to be an insurrection in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., my hometown. Now, let me break this down with you, brothers and sisters. Today is being listed as an anniversary, the 1 year anniversary of the Capitol insurrection. I have some problems with this. Obviously, I'm going to be bringing them out on the show. Not just the idea that that there was an insurrection. We know that. I'd say it was an attempted coup. You say tomato, I say tomato. My point, brothers and sisters, is in a year, we are still stuck in the same inertia that has not brought the proponents, the main ringleaders of this situation, to justice. They've not been prosecuted. They've not been deposed. Nothing. We seem to be locking up the people who are the pawns in this situation. We're not getting to the kings and the queens. That being said, brothers and sisters, I also have a fundamental problem with the fact that they're making this an anniversary. That somehow, some way, the American public, we are not clear to the fact that what happened 1 year ago today was, in fact, brothers and sisters, one of the largest organized demonstrations of domestic terrorism. Why are they not talking about it? We're going to get to that point throughout the show. But my point, brothers and sisters, I want to make sure that we, the sober-minded of us all, have an honest conversation and a truthful conversation. Because if we don't have it, what happens is we're going to be left out of a conversation. We're going to be left out of discussion. We're going to be left out of history, because at some point in time, if you roll this over long enough, brothers and sisters, it will be that somehow this will be Patriots Day. I guarantee this will go from an insurrection to Patriots Day. Now, before we do that, again, I want to give a shout out to the family of Carl Banks. Many of you don't know Carl Banks. He's a personal friend of me. He was a fellow comedian he succumbed to cancer 2 days ago. It's sad about sometimes how you come up on things on Facebook. I know he had been a cancer survivor, but he passed, unfortunately, probably something attributable to COVID. I'm not sure, but he was a heck of a comedian, a funny comedian, a much better human being, and I think the world is going to be at a loss with him not in his presence. So shout out to the Carl Banks family. Also, again, shout out to Imam Fatim and his wife, who returned to Allah. These things, brothers and sisters, are happening all around us. And I think even that makes me a little bit even more incensed about this farce, if you will, of trying to have an anniversary of a crime. Brothers and sisters, this is an anniversary of a crime. There's no other insurrections in the world that is celebrated that have anniversaries. They are not talked about. They are deep six. And here we are in the United States, not even 5-10 years later. You have people making this thing on one side, okay, it's an anniversary. On another side, brothers and sisters, they're saying this was a proclamation for freedom in the United States. It was domestic terrorism. It's the same type of domestic terrorism that some gentlemen in Michigan, I say gentlemen in Michigan, to think that they can actually kidnap the governor to get their way. Brothers and sisters, we're living in weird times, to be very, very soft and put it out there. But I think today I would like to just kind of go a little ham. I'm going to, if you allow me to, I'm going to take some theories, if you will. They're not 100% fact, but I'm going to try and take some breadcrumbs, put it together, and no, I'm not going to make a loaf of bread. It's just going to be a lot of crumbs. But those crumbs still have value. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I appreciate you. Welcome to the Shout Out Show. Thank you for being here. Satana, let's get it rolling. Now, before we get started, I have some family members that actually try to tune into the show. I sent you the email. Hope you got the link. Listen, do us all a favor. Click the subscribe button and the notification button. That way, when the show comes on, we can give you a heads up that the show is coming on. You can actually look at what the content is. Because I really only send out 4 emails to the links. That's Miss Eleanor, my mother, my aunt, and my dad. So that's all I can do. You're going to have to subscribe, and hit the notification link. I haven't said that. Satana, I don't even know when the last time I ever said hit the subscription link. I know you're like, I hate you, Preacher Moss. Subscription. But I did not do that. So forgive me, everybody. Let's go ahead and get to the show. Before we do anything, if it's your first time coming to the show, God bless you. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate your presence on the platform. Like I say, I'm the host of the Shout Out Show, but you know what? It's the people who make the platform, and you coming on today make the platform. Now let me show you a special feature of coming on the Shout Out Show. If you come a couple of times and I recognize your effort to get here on this live stream type of deal, you know what you're going to do? You're going to get your stripes. You're going to get your S.O.S stripes. S.O.S stands for Shout Out Show stripes. But you get to be a part of the Shout Out Show soldiers, a part of the Shout Out Show family, a legion of dedicated people who come to the Shout Out Show. Rain, sleet, or snow, better even than the post office person. But they come here on the show and they make it do what it do. Let me show you some of the people we have on the platform. Who we got today? We got Sister Ree. Sister Ree is a mainstay of the Shout Out Show. Sister Ree, thank you so much for coming on. You know what? The ground turkey and rice was good last night. I put a little salt on it. But it was excellent. I just want you to know that. I know we were going back and forth. It was good. Thank you so much and I appreciate you for hooking me up like that. Okay, Sister Ree, also shout out to Derek and shout out to Jawan. Next up, Bilal Salahuddin. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How you doing, brother? He says salam from us. That means he got a crew of people. Bilal, thank you for coming on the show, brothers. And you know what? So I got to give out stripes. I'm going to start giving out stripes to people on the Shout Out Show. Because they're going to have official rank in case, that's in the general order of leadership. If the general falls, there should be lieutenants and captains and majors to take his place. That's what I'm thinking. So I think if I'm the general, then Satana is a 3-star general. I'm a 4-star general. How that work, Satana? Satana's like, I don't want to be in the military. I'm a pacifist. Okay, leave you alone. All right. Bilal, thank you so much for coming on the show, brother. We appreciate you. Hope you can jump in with some comments. Let me know what you think about what we're talking about on this show. Next up, Altaf Rashid, all the way from Toronto, Canada. Altaf, thank you for coming, brother. We appreciate you. Yes, indeed. Better known as Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down. I say Altaf is always on the scene, on time, and Comes all the way from Toronto, brothers and sisters. He is the official Canadian ambassador of the show. I don't know if there's a lot of live stream shows out there, but we have a Canadian ambassador to the show. Make sure the quality of the show is good on this side of the border and the next. Peace and blessings to yours, family, brother. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Next up, who we got? Mama Son, better known as Mary Moss. That's my mom, brothers and sisters. Mom to a lot of people, as a matter of fact. Hey, I'm glad you made it on the show, Mom Son. Appreciate you. She's giving a shout out to the S.O.S family. She is the matriarch of the S.O.S family. You know, in the Baptist church, you have the mother of the church. She's the mother of the S.O.S. How about that? Mom, I gave you a title. You are the mother of the S.O.S. All right. Next up. And we got Sister Satana, who is the consultant producer, of which very little of this is possible. You know, it's one thing to have a concept, but it's one thing to have a running buddy that helps you get your concept up. Sister Satana has been that for this and a couple of other things, but I'm hoping she's going to run with me on something big. Had a great meeting today, Sister Satana. I'm going to tell you about it after the show, but, you know, Sister Satana is big time. I know I'm not big time. Sister Tana's big time. She'd be like, I'm just doing you to do. I'm just working with you to get work off the community service hours I got for shoplifting. And go and get your hours, girl. Get your hours. I'll give you a couple hours. All right. Sister Tana's like, oh, if I could reach to the screen, I would choke you in front of your mom. All right. Next up, let's get to this thing, brothers and sisters. This thing that's been bothering me. You know, a lot of times we have a holiday. And this is why this really bothers me too. Right now we're celebrating the anniversary of an insurrection. I spared us the video of the insurrection, white people climbing over walls and scaffolding. It looked like a white rendition of Planet of the Apes. That's what it looked like to me. I was like, look at all of these Caucasians climbing walls. I was like, it wasn't a concert. It wasn't a natural disaster. Brothers and sisters, these were people who were displeased at the results of an election. They were displeased at the results of an election. This was not a patriotic act. This was not something like the Boston Tea Party, where the colonists threw tea into the Boston Harbor, allegedly, to protest tax. This was not that, brothers and sisters. This was not that. This was not anything having to do with the Constitution, Declaration. It had nothing to do with that. This was, brothers and sisters, domestic terrorism. My question is, why are we, in some regards, celebrating domestic terrorism? Why are we celebrating? If you're going to celebrate domestic terrorism, then we should have a holiday for the Oklahoma City bombings. You know why we don't have a holiday for the Oklahoma City bombings, brothers and sisters? I'm going to tell you. Because that was an act not against people, but against government. And the way to hurt the government was to hurt the people. This is different. These are people who were disgruntled with the fact that the government didn't do what they wanted them to do. The government did what it was legislated to do, constitutionally, legally, what it was supposed to do. And somehow, some way, people felt cheated. Now, let me throw this out here. It always affronts me that people feel cheated when they don't get what they want. They have no compassion, no mercy, no attention to where other people get cheated. But when somehow their space, which has been built on lies, which has been built on advantage, which has been built on inefficient and unfair laws and practices, when they get in this space, brothers and sisters, they are so selfish that to do what they did on January 6th, they absolutely had to deny history before them and after them to show up on that day, January 6th. And it's a fact. When we did the shout out show, 2 days before it or a day before it, I can't remember. We did a show called Smells Like a Coup to Me. Now let me tell you why I did a show called Smells Like a Coup to Me. This is why. Because I am a student of military history. I went to military school for 6 years. You know, we study military science. You know, we look at military options, military movements, military exercises, and the way that you control and sequester government. That's what we learn, brothers and sisters. And as a person, not as a lay person, I would say the lay person, but there was no military involved. I remember speaking to people who were in the military. I think I said things to my brother JT. I think I said something to Sister Satana. Several people about certain things that happened before we even got to January 6th. One of which was the protest on Lafayette Square, where yours truly, number 45, Orange Man, had everybody cleared out of a square to go in front of a church to hold up a Bible upside down. I said then, brothers and sisters, the problem was before that, and people missed it, some people missed it, but some people didn't. That before that, one of the ways they used to push those people out of that square was they brought in a helicopter. Hear me now. They brought in a helicopter and they lowered it to the ground to blow people out of the space, to physically move them out of the space that way. You didn't touch them. You didn't have to run police and riot gear, but to move them out of the space. And that was a military action. You can't get clearance for that, brothers and sisters, through the National Guard. That was a military action. Police helicopters are not slated to do that. I'll bet it still happened. Now let me break this down as best I can. One of the things that I don't want to be lost is the fact that this anniversary, this 1 year anniversary, comes 1 year after the fact, again, that the major proponents of this thing, Trump, several politicians, news personalities, colluded to make sure this thing happened. The only thing that didn't happen was they didn't win. And a coward and a traitor and a person who betrays the republic, brothers and sisters, I can tell you who they are. They are the ones who show up only when the people have won the position for them. When the peons have gone on and sacrificed their jobs, sacrificed their lives, so that they can stand at the top, at the precipice, on a plane over everybody else and go, I am emperor, I am Caesar. And the I am Caesar program never came for Donald Trump, brothers and sisters, and there's a reason why. There's a reason why. And this is really important. Because we won't necessarily celebrate this, but I want to make sure that I say it, otherwise I'd be remiss. That we watched an anniversary that in several years could be played out as Patriots Day. We watched essentially domestic terrorism that was comprised of, you guessed it, white on white crime. White on white crime. And what I mean is, you had politicians arguing. You had people who have no course of action, no access to the political process, no meaningful wealth, show up to a place, feel empowered to think that they can overturn the system, not even knowing what the system is. The system is laws. I got rules for you, brothers and sisters. You can't overturn a law physically. You have to have people in the room who have the discussion, who have, even with enemies, who have a parley, to talk about what the problems are and how it can be worked out. And this, brothers and sisters, 2022 is a year of no parley. So our government system and our political system will be in constant conflict because that's the way it's working now. The inability to bring in people who tried to overthrow the government. Hear me now. Overthrow the government. If you're trying to turn an election, you're not just trying to turn an election. It's not a popularity contest. Voting is a sovereign act. You are trying to turn over the will of the people because it is not your will. It does not produce what you want. And in this whole scope of selfishness, brothers and sisters, we have people, and I'm gonna shout out some of my white brothers and sisters. We have people who have yellow streaks down their backs. Yellow sweet streaks down their backs. Who have swallowed their whistle, as we say in the game. Who've gotten soft in the game. Who've been moist for years, but now they're extra moisty. And we have these people still in leadership positions that turn around to us and tell us, I'm your leader. I'm damn near through. I'm sick of it. Because it appeals to me that these people realize they've been exposed by their own folks. It's the same as seeing one Karen talk and yell at another Karen, and we just had to sit there, brothers and sisters, and act like we can unsee what we saw. You can't unsee this. I can't unsee white people with the signs and the horns and in Pelosi's office with the feet up. I can't unsee it. I can't unsee Mitch Romney running this way. I can't unsee it. I can't unsee the black cop trying to run and fend people off. I can't unsee this woman get shot. You cannot unsee it. Yet, though, that seems to be the move. I don't think we should have any more committees, any more subcommittees. Listen, brothers and sisters, I know people who committed crimes, been convicted, been incarcerated, and been out by now. And we don't have anybody, clearly, brothers and sisters, the evidence is there. Remember those breadcrumbs I talked about? The evidence is there. We're talking about Ivanka. We're talking about Donald Jr. We're talking about Sean Hannity. We're talking about all of these people going, hey, man, we've gone a little bit too far. You might want to reel it in, Donald. And here's a guy who sat on the sidelines and didn't throw in the hat, didn't admit defeat. He just acted like he wasn't at the game. And far too often, brothers and sisters, here's the thing for all of you, all our black folk, all our Latinos, all our Muslims and Christians and Jews that ain't in that situation to do a damn thing about it right now. Being that we cannot unsee it, these people still believe that somehow, some way, we are supposed to afford them forgiveness. We're supposed to afford them a certain type of understanding. We're supposed to afford them a certain type of compassion or capacity for mercy. When these are the people, brothers and sisters, who front and center, they will argue. They were like prison lovers having domestic disputes, and we had to watch it. We had to watch it as the children of these folks, these people having arguments, politicians and policymakers and lobbyists. We had to sit here and take it, and somehow, some way, at this time next year, they'll be cooking up a formula for a cake, baking it, knowing that there's poison in the cake. There are impurities in the cake, but they're going to give it to you. And they're going to say, eat the cake. And your consequences for not eating the cake is you just won't have a piece of whatever they're offering. Clearly, and let me repeat this, clearly, brothers and sisters, the idea is we have a case where we can see clearly the functionality of this government doesn't work. I'm not anti-government. I'm anti-ineffectiveness. That the people who are in leadership positions now have shown me that they are ineffective. They are ineffective with their own people. How the hell are you going to be effective for me? You're not even thinking about me. You are ineffective with your own people. Policies can't get through. Build Back Better is on the back burner. We can't get nothing done. And every time I look at the face of these people, they definitely don't look like me. They don't sound like me. They don't come from where I come from. They don't share the same type of logic. They damn sure don't share the same type of compassion. Over and over and over, we find ourselves trying to rehash and afford this agency for people to get themselves together. Forget January 6th. You need to look at what happened January 7th. Nothing. We sat back like it was all TV, like it was theatering around. It was not. This was your government in action. The fact that you can have a person show up to a rally, brothers and sisters, cheer on the troops, then go home watching on his TV, and he goes, just like a politician in an election, when you lose, you have to give a concession speech. This man never gave a concession speech. He didn't give a concession speech when he lost the election. You knew he wasn't going to do it when he lost the insurrection. Over and over and over and over again, brothers and sisters, we are now not in the space about politics. We're not in the space about politics. This is like prison. Let me tell you why it's like prison. Because when you are in prison, you are chasing an image. Let me say it again. In prison, when you go to prison for a fair amount of time, you are in there chasing an image. And you are solely concerned about what others think about you. Solely concerned about what others think about you. And what others think about you is the thing that fuels you chasing this image. That I want to be tough. That I want to be smart. That I don't take no stuff. And those were the people who showed up, hear me now, they showed up to the Capitol building. These are largely white, frustrated people who have been in the prison, brothers and sisters, of their minds. The prison of lies. The prison of the fact that all the things you've been told are true are not true. And when they showed up to the Capitol building on January 6th last year, brothers and sisters, when they showed up, there was no curtain to pull back to say that this is the mighty Oz. They pulled it back and said, damn, these people look like me. Can you imagine, brothers and sisters, can you imagine if these insurrection people showed up at the BET Awards looking for justice? It would have been absolute mayhem. They'd have killed every black person in there and found a justification to do it. In a couple of days after this debacle, if you will, that's what I'm calling it. In a couple of days, January 15th, we're going to have MLK Day. And I want you to look at the way that they portray MLK in juxtaposition to insurrection. You know, he was framed as a domestic terrorist, brothers and sisters, in his time, as was Malcolm, as was Elijah, as was Medgar. They were framed as domestic terrorists, as was Muhammad Ali. But they were domestic terrorists. Why? Because they loved their people, in spite of the fact that loving their people infuriated other people. It made other people upset. Nobody loves a black man more than a black man that hates himself, and a black man that hates things and people who look like him, his history, black woman, Latino woman, all of this, brothers and sisters. But now we have something to look at. And for the greater part of it, and the last part of this show, because, man, that time went quickly. But for the last part of the show, brothers and sisters, I want you to start thinking about, what is your exit plan? I've talked about it often. What is your exit strategy? If you know that the fruit is being brought to you as poison, are you willing to get into YouTube or Google and learn how to produce your own fruit? It's not a new concept. It's been done before. This is out of necessity. What I saw on January 6th was the political system doesn't work for us. It won't work for us for a while. Because to get the political system right and happy and functional, it will serve the needs of the people that actually attacked it first. Not the people who sat back and go, hey man, that's wrong. Hey, I'm American. I'm an American. But just to wrap up and be honest with you guys, this is scary times. I honestly thought January 6th, by January 10th, they had everybody locked up. I thought it would have been like first 48. So I thought it was going to be like first 48. They're going to have white people telling on each other, it wasn't me, it was Elroy. And Elroy drove and all of this stuff. And Peter came, but Peter couldn't come all the time. He dropped us off because his wife got gout and he had to take her to the doctor. I thought it was going to be something like that, brothers and sisters, but it's metamorphosized. And it's reached levels of political Jesus, if you will, because these people, in many regards, they won. They won. They scared the politicians who remain in the building and remain in their political positions, if you will, strategic positions, I might add. They made those people scared. So when the protesters receded, the threat stayed there. And so you have a wannabe king running around threatening people who don't subscribe to his way of thinking, don't subscribe to the fact that, hey man, we don't care about the people. It's about what I want. It's about what I want. This is a dictatorship, brothers and sisters. A wannabe dictator still running around scaring people, making people not run again for public office, making people change their positions because they don't want to have to run against other people as incumbents. This is the very definition of dysfunctional politics. So, I'm going to get out of here. Let me give a shout out to our folks. You guys have been very patient too. Thank you so much. We got JT. Why Lake my salon rahmatullah barakatuh, beloved. How you doing, man? Thank you for making the show. What's your show without my little brother, man? Appreciate you. I know you got things to do, but I'm happy to see you on the spot. And oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Let's go, Sis Shiraz. How are you? Why Lake my salon rahmatullah barakatuh. My eyeglasses are bad. Law must be respected by everyone and applied to everyone, no matter the race, color, religion, or background. I agree with you. In fact, I salute you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We need to hear that, brothers and sisters. I appreciate you. And Mama Moss has one on here. She says, January 6th showed military planning and military execution. No sorrow for those killed and hurt. They are not finished. They feel victorious. This is true. This is true. Mama Sana, I believe that. Because now, whether you have another insurrection or not, this is what you have. You have a credible threat. You have a credible threat that this could happen again. There are people, brothers and sisters, who are opening up businesses based upon the fact that this could happen again. Real talk. Real talk. All right, so let me go into my wrap up. Brothers and sisters, please, please, I hope next year we do not have a second anniversary of January 6th. I hope that we really nip it in the bud. I really hope that we nip it in the bud, because we're not celebrating any other insurrections. We're not giving claim and highlight to any other insurrections. This was domestic terrorism. Clear and simple. We watched on our TVs and our phones and our tablets and our smartphones and things like that. We read in the paper. We watch white on white crime. When white people can't take advantage of white laws that they wrote. And I said, white. What was not in there? You weren't in there. That was the problem. So, all right, let's get to it. Let me go ahead and get to my sponsor. Let me get you guys out of here on time. I want to give a shout out to BeFinancialIndependent.com. Again, that's BeFinancialIndependent.com. If you don't want to go to the website, please go to 202-508-3780. Again, that's 202-508-5780. The attorney Esquire Maxine B. Cade will be on the line waiting to take your call. Shout out, Attorney Cade. All right. And also, brothers and sisters, if you are interested in getting a quality graduate level Islamic education, you got to go to Bayan Islamic School. Bayan, with programs in Islamic leadership, Islamic studies. Also, one of the best programs in Islamic education, and a Master's of Divinity with a focus, concentration in Muslim chaplaincy. You can't beat it. Make sure you check it out. All right, go to bayanonline.org. Again, that's bayanonline.org. We're going to switch it up a little bit. I want to give a shout out to UsHub TV. Again, that's UsHub TV, the new kids on the block for streaming. I'm telling everybody, go to UsHub. They have a free trial. They have amazing content on there. Muslim artists, Muslim directors, Muslim creatives. Love Supreme, my project, my opus, my passion project is being screened on there now. What you do, you can go, you can check it out. You can look at Love Supreme and, cancel your subscription. No, that's wrong. I know how we do. But I'm saying this because we want to make sure that we do support us, our brothers and sisters. This is something that's needed. And I believe strategic-wise, they're here to stay. You may be looking at the real alternative, Muslim alternative to Netflix, the real Muslim alternative to Hulu, talking about things and our sensibilities in a meaningful way. It's important to be able to turn programs on. I used to say that our kids could watch, but it's more important to turn on programs, brothers and sisters, that we can, we could trust. Programs that we could trust. You can have things that are controversial. We don't necessarily have to believe everything. We're not one monolith, but sometimes just turn on TV, and when you see things about Muslim lifestyle, whether it's controversial or not, you got to be able to trust it. All right. And brothers and sisters, I've been promising this. We went from the top of the show. We did it. I want to give a shout out to Convenient Urgent Care in the city of Houston with 3 locations. Houston on Parker Road, Cypress, and Pasadena. Listen, they are doing major stuff. So if you're in the Houston area and you get that call, especially with this Omicron, make sure you go and check them out. I mean, they have incredible staff, The leader over there, his name is Ajaz Siad. He's doing amazing work, brothers and sisters. We need to support our organizations and support our Muslim health organizations and support our Muslim health centers. All right, listen, that's it. On this note, I'm gonna send us out, Sister Satana, on a newly cut trailer called "Don't Get the COVID." See you guys tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hey, baby. Welcome to Radio WCUC, Convenient Urgent Care, home of the smart patient. This is DJ What It Do. You know what time it is. It's the top of the hour, and the request lines are open. You know what you want to hear. I know what you want to hear. Operators are waiting.
I just gotta hear don't get the COVID.
Don't get the COVID. Put your mask back on. The Delta COVID, more contagious than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get the vaccine. You know that it can keep you safe. And your people living up in your space. Don't get the COVID. You need to wash your hands. The Delta COVID is more deadly than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get your vaccine. You know that it can keep you from dying. Don't leave your family all alone and crying. Don't get the COVID.
We invite you to join our fight against COVID and against misinformation. It's time to listen to the doctors and trust the science.
When I think of people dying that don't have to die, it makes me sad. Now is the time to be sober. Together we can make this thing over. Let's fight the COVID.